Thanks for joining us this evening. I'm Daniel Sparkman.
And I'm Janie Wallace. We start with the bombing in Boston. A $50,000 reward is now being offered for information leading to the arrest and conviction of those behind Monday's attacks at the Boston Marathon.
And 3 people were killed, more than 180 injured in the attack. Zane Asher has more in our top story at 5 o'clock.
Back-to-back explosions rocked the city of Boston, leaving a gruesome scene of blood and destruction near a row of international flags.
Everybody knew immediately there was a problem. The smoke rose immediately above the buildings. It rose so quickly it was clear that it was a big explosion. The sound itself sort of rumbled the ground.
Tuesday, President Obama condemned the attacks.
This was a heinous and cowardly act. And given what we now know about what took place, the FBI is investigating it as an act of terrorism.
Investigators continue to look for answers into what Boston's police commissioner is describing as the most complex crime scene in the history of the department. Authorities are asking for photos and videos taken around the time of the attacks for clues. The FBI reassured victims justice will be served.
The American public wants answers. The citizens of the city of Boston and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts want and deserve answers.
3 people were tragically killed in Monday's attack, including 8-year-old Martin Richard, who's seen in a Facebook photo holding a sign that reads, quote, "No more hurting people, peace." The child's message transcended social media and echoed across the nation Tuesday as runners in Atlanta staged a silent run to honor him and other victims. A moment of silence was also observed before the opening bell at the New York Stock Exchange.
That was Zane Asher reporting. A person close to the investigation says the explosives were in 6-liter pressure cookers placed in black duffel bags. They were placed on the ground and contained shards of metal, nails, and ball bearings.
Well, with the Boston bombing still fresh on everyone's minds, local JROTC students spent their morning showing their patriotism for the United States through a flag retirement ceremony.
And WVUA's Jennifer Edwards joins us now live in the studio with more. Jennifer.
Daniel, Janie, organizers of the ceremony told me it had been scheduled for a while, but they said yesterday's events in Boston made today's ceremony more meaningful. JROTC cadets from Holt High School led the flag retirement ceremony at the Tuscaloosa VA Medical Center this morning. The students properly disposed of about 150 torn and tattered American flags from all across the United States. Senior Army instructor, Lieutenant Colonel retired Frank Hanna, said it's important to hold ceremonies like today's to keep patriotism alive in his cadets no matter the situation. JROTC Sergeant Major Anthony Blake said events like the Boston bombings are why he chose this path.
One day I hope that I can go in the U.S. Marine Corps in the military and help out and protect my country from people like that.
Even though we get bombed one day, then the next day we turn around and we have a patriotic ceremony that honors the flags and honors all the fallen people who have died, you know, in service to this country.
I'll have more from the ceremony and reaction to the Boston bombings coming up on WVUA News at 6. Daniel.
Thanks, Jennifer. On your home team Crime Watch, another arrest in connection with the death of a Tuscaloosa County teen. There are now 4 people behind bars charged with murder in connection with the death of Matthew Callahan. According to Tuscaloosa Metro Homicide Unit Lieutenant Kip Hart, 18-year-old Tamara Siobhan Wilder was arrested this morning. Shidell Walker, Keontae Furr, and Timothy Thornton have also been arrested in this case. We have reported 17-year-old Callahan was fatally shot in the parking lot of River Run condos last week. Authorities say they believe the meeting was under the guise of a drug transaction. Hart says more charges and arrests are possible.
In light of the recent shootings and other violence in the area, Tuscaloosa community leaders are banding together to assess the problem of juvenile crime. Tuscaloosa Police Chief Steve Anderson says in recent years there has been an increase in juvenile crime. Some local leaders say this is a result of a lack of both of community and parental involvement, along with the lack of space at the Juvenile Detention Center. A group of community leaders recently got together to discuss the problem. City leaders say they plan to do something about it.
Until we put some teeth in this thing and show these kids that we're serious about putting them behind bars if they're committing crimes, that nothing's going to change.
We as a community If we don't stand up and take a stance and start doing something about it, I mean, who knows who could be next?
Chief Anderson says to pursue the issue when possible, his department will charge the juveniles as adults and put them in county jail if that's what it takes to get the message across.
Today marks the 50th anniversary of Martin Luther King Jr.'s letter from a Birmingham jail. Tuscaloosa's Public Library held a special ceremony today in honor of that event. They hosted readings of the letter and discussions about its impact 50 years later. King wrote the letter while jailed for his role in civil rights demonstrations back in 1963. It was in response to some white Alabama clergy who suggested King find other ways than demonstrations to seek racial equality.
I think the importance of this event is there are a lot of people who weren't alive during that time. And it's very important to keep that in our memories, keep that in the forefront of what's going on.
A new historical marker now stands in Birmingham commemorating where King wrote those letters.
New at 5, a major union is trying to organize at Mercedes-Benz in Tuscaloosa County. The United Auto Workers has created a website, uawvance.com, targeting workers at the plant. The UAW is sponsored by the German union ID Metall. A Mercedes spokesperson says Mercedes-Benz has always been neutral on unionization at the Vance plant, and that is still their stand. UAS is also trying to unionize at the Volkswagen plant in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and at the Nissan plant in Canton, Mississippi. Well, if you've got Bama fever, then this weekend is your chance to get up close to the Alabama Crimson Tide.
That's right. Thousands of fans at A-Day this year will be there for Bama football. They'll pack Bryant-Denny Stadium to see their favorite players and coaches. And your home team is going to be on hand as well outside the north end zone to meet with fans, and that starts at 10 a.m. WVUA will also have live or special programming beginning at 11 a.m. and noon with the Iron Bowl hour, followed by a special A-Day edition of Crimson Tide Kickoff. That kicks off at noon. A-Day starts at 2 o'clock and will be televised on ESPN2.